So anyway, then I started at University of California. And that time, science was, was all powerful. You know, they discovered radar, they discovered atomic energy, medical advances, so many things. So at that time, science was going to take us to other planets. We were going to do all these wonderful things. We're all going to become immortal. That was pretty much like a, accepted fact. We're all going to become immortal now. And if not immortal, at least we'll live for 400 years. At that time, we'll probably figure out how to take care of the rest of it. Okay, so I started electrical engineering. Got kind of bored, changed to biological engineering. Was doing surgery on dogs, and then, but it's still a very mechanistic model of what is life: atoms, molecules, and chemicals. So now, what's left? I changed to psychology, and by then I had to graduate. So I graduated. I got a first place prize. Went to graduate school in Northwestern in Chicago. My mentor was president of the American Psychological Association, a little genius guy, Donald Campbell. And he said, if you're really interested in psychology, you should probably go head east, so much more advanced. So I headed east, got a black belt in Okinawan karate, and then came in contact with this whole yoga tradition, A.C. Bhakti Swami. India is not a nation. India is a subcontinent, like Europe. Do French people and German people get along well? They always have. They can't understand each other, everything else. So same way, India is a subcontinent. You have Gujarat, Bengal, different places, totally different languages. Different Punjabis in the north are very much earthy farmer guys, and Bengalis are all totally mental people, this kind of thing. So it's a lot of variety, But like in Europe, you have Latin, which is common in many places, and Christianity. So same way, in India there's Sanskrit, which is, who knows how old it is, the whole culture there. But one big difference is that it's actually in this more tropical area. Polar bears do very well in places like Antarctica, Alaska. What color is a polar bear's skin?
Black.
It's an important question. Black. And every hair is a fiber optic. It doesn't matter if the light hits it like this, it takes it down. It doesn't matter how it hits it, it takes it. So they are incredible solar collectors, right? This is important because in the wintertime there's not much sunlight. You're a polar bear. And of course, how big is a polar bear? Is it this big? No. Is it this? If a hungry polar bear is standing up in front of you, how big is a polar bear? Maybe like 8 feet tall or something. You get big. Because they have to eat a lot, and they have maybe like 1 month before you eat again. So very interesting body. If you put a polar bear in India or Guayaquil or South America, they would not be happy. But they put a human being in Alaska, it's tough. So human civilization, human life goes very, very well in this, around the equator, that area. You can't have human life where there aren't palm trees. One standard. Palm trees produce all kinds of nuts and fruits and coconuts. If you got coconuts and bananas, you'll never starve to death. If you got a wife, you'll actually have a variety of cook them this way. I had one friend from South India. He said his mother cannot cook without coconut. It's just like cannot do it, so on. So different geographic areas develop different kinds of cultures, contributions like that. Because in Germany, the United States is dominated by Northern German consciousness. Average day in the winter in Germany is 30 below zero centigrade. That's a normal day. A cold day is 50 below zero. At 30 below zero, if you spit at somebody, it turns into ice in the air. Okay, that's I won't tell you what happens at 50. So you develop a whole consciousness, a whole definition of space. Rectilinear geometry, iron tools. You come to America, you have the talking wire, the iron horse. And cell phones are all just nothing but high-tech metal. When the big American Indian advocate, he said, your people have always been very good metal workers. Oh yeah. You can also work with clay. You can work with a lot of stuff. He said, your people have always been favored by sky gods. Yeah. How did we win both world wars? With air power. So this is indigenous people looking at, the culture, and they're doing okay. The Hopi Indians still keep their same culture. In spite of so much intrusion by Western culture, they still do have regular dance programs and stuff. Well, the same guy, Vin Delorien, he said, if you told a Hopi medicine man, this is how the world was created. In the beginning was the singularity, okay? And it expanded and everything else, and quantum mechanics and evolution, and all these things came about from these impersonal things. And he would listen to it, and he might say, well, brother, it just might work if you add one fox and one crow. Yeah, and but where do these things come from? Slyness, cleverness, there's so many personal quality which our culture destroys. And just everybody is eliminated, these kind of things. Personal relationships are very eliminated. So that's what we're trying to do. I keep coming in contact with everybody's looking, right? Trying to solve the problems of life. So it was my perspective, and then finally we came in contact with the ISKCON, Hare Krishna movement. And a lot of people joined. Prabhupada said in the 1960s, hippies were our best customers. Now it's Indian software engineers. Yes. The ultimate stage of evolution. Look at that. See, there's the species right there. Indian software engineer. Take a stress pill, Hal. Calm down, Hal. Yeah. I was looking at the YouTube. It was like I think it was like the 30 best science fiction movies. And they were going through different categories, And finally they came to number one. And the guy said, we don't have to tell you what's number one is. In every single category we've discussed before, this movie is just over the top. And it is 2001: Space Odyssey. I saw part of it recently. Even still, it still can run competition with anything going like that. So this is evolution. Next step is the computer. Okay, so we came in contact with ISKCON, and then A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, was trying to bring this culture, to give people in the West, in Germany or anyplace else, some kind of more broader perspective on things. Because everybody has something to offer, If you're from Peru, you only take birth in Peru if you like potatoes. There's like 1,000 kinds of potatoes they make in Peru on Peru. I mention that to everybody goes. If you want romance, you take birth in. If you want good machines. Yeah, everybody knows this. If you want, what's the word, duplicitous, subtle espionage. Russia or Britain. But The Man Who Never Was, that movie, it's a big classic movie, right? The Man Who Never Was. The British they got a corpse. That's difficult to do in the first place because every body belongs to somebody. So they finally got some guy, and then they dressed him all up as a British attaché, created an entire fake history with a girlfriend and everything else. They call it chained a briefcase to him and dropped him off in the ocean, and made sure some fishermen found him in Italy, in Spain, because the Franco was giving the Germans full opportunity for espionage there, and so sure enough they promoted it, and they got this from the briefcase. They opened it. They finally had to steal the papers. They made it difficult for them. Everything, Okay, we got this in spite of them, and this describes exactly what the invasion is going to be. Because on one side, the Allies are bringing in like 200,000 soldiers. The Germans are ready on their side for the invasion. So it's going to happen in northern France. So Hitler transferred all these panzer divisions, everything else there. So when they landed in the south of France, nobody there. Yeah. So Prabhupada said, the British are the most cunning people on the face of the earth. Whatever an Englishman tells you, you have to. Okay, so karma. 3 times in one lectures, Prabhupada said, you only take birth in India if you were interested in philosophy, in religion or philosophy, spirituality in a previous life. Because it's so intense there, every place, everything. And how many Indians believe that the soul is different than the body?
Most everybody.
I know, yeah. I was in India one time, long time ago, and I had a new candy bar. And it was chocolate on the outside and orange on the inside. It said, body and soul, the best candy bar. It was about 1995. When a very famous poet had just died. So he had his body on the stage with flowers, and the minister of education was coming. Everybody was coming to say words about him and glorify him. And they had to burn the body before the sun came up or something. But then right on stage with all these cameras going live, the minister of education sitting there kind of looking. And while somebody else is talking, he goes over and takes the head and kind of on the body, the corpse, and kind of readjusts it. You don't do that in America. Everybody be, he's touching a dead man. But in India there was nobody concerned. The president of the United States goes over just yeah. So it really is a very different culture and perspective like that and stuff. So trying to create these bridges between the essence of India, which is the philosophy, the culture, Bhagavad Gita. So we organized a North American Institute for Oriental and Classical Studies, and we have a web page, and it is NEOS North American Institute, neosnimbus.org, right? And our webmaster is right there. And we're trying to keep everything up. Oh yes, and also we have an Amazon account. You can publish stuff on Amazon, and our Amazon manager is right there. For many years we've been working on this, and you start to build a team. People just who fit in naturally in their position, everything else, and that's how things go on. So it all started because of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, and he did it because Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. If you go back like that, it goes back to Krishna. Everybody's friends. Is there a Krishna? Yes, there really is. What does he look like? About this tall. Kind of a swarthy, dark complexion. So it's a whole gift from India. Specifically, we're organizing, with NEOS, we've been organizing programs for many years, especially in Peru. We've had a lot of very, very good success there. It's close enough to the United States where technology and stuff makes sense, but it's also very oriental in its character. So it's a very good place where you can appreciate both these cultures like that, and contribution. So we did psychology in the sacred. It was very good with Carl Jung. How many people know Carl Jung? Jungian psychology. Okay, so we did a very effective program with them. It's a very nice group. And then art and the sacred, and Aboriginal art from Australia, Metropolitan Museum of Art. People came from there. It was a very nice program of art and the sacred. It's just, one of my friends from India, he's a big historian. He said, I dare you to find any culture which has not used art to express the sacred. Maybe not pop culture, but I dare you to find any culture historically which has not used art to express the sacred. It's a very natural medium. Because our thinking is very linear, right? This is German thinking of, we learn how to do arithmetic, all these kind of things. We learn a certain kind of grammar. Chinese, one girl, she's from China. I was confirming my hypothesis. Chinese grammar is not linear, it's circular. You just keep adding things on. She said it's very difficult for Chinese people to learn Western grammar and that thinking process. They think more like in circles. We think we're going someplace. No, China, you're not going anyplace. You're just kind of like, dealing with the situation as it is. So the grammar, you don't think about it. Nietzsche said that. He said, you say you've gotten rid of God, but you still follow your grammar, which makes you see things a certain way. In traditional Arabic culture, you have to be close enough to somebody when you're talking to feel their breath on your face. Every culture has a space. You don't think about it. If you're touching somebody else right now, raise your hand. It has to be two people. Are you touching? You're not touching, wow. Right? You see? Notice? Wow. Yeah. Okay, another one here. If you or somebody in your immediate family, your father, your mother, brothers, your sister, or children have been divorced, raise your hand. Okay, welcome to America. Okay. If it's not true, raise your hand. Okay. Nobody's been divorced in your family. Okay. That's all the Indians. How many ladies here have had arranged marriages? 1, 2, 3.
Again, it is all our Indians.
Well, here's a question. Maybe I don't know if I should ask this or not. Did you ever hold hands with a boy before you were married? Yeah. I want to ask the American girls. Have you been married? Well, welcome to America. Yeah. You see these cultural differences, and they're good. They allow you to see things from different angles and begin to look for the absolute truth. So, since we've been doing this kind of work, psychology in the sacred, art in the sacred, then we went to, now we're on education in the sacred. They're expanding it. Education in the sacred, just as you can't expand it anymore. That's everything. So we're having very good results now. We'll be organizing a symposium in Peru. Everybody's invited. And we'll also be publishing a magazine like that called Solaris. And it's very interesting because it's not just, logical articles. One of the best directors in Latin America, Oscar Natas, his wife, he does these incredible things with images and movies. One of his award-winning things, the biggest theater in Lima. Everybody gets in there, maybe 1,000 people, and then there's like a scene on the stage, lights down. And it's like a sunset over the mountains and stuff, And then 4 people push a very old car onto the stage, push it on the stage, and right away it's like, shock your mind, Then the guy gets out of the car and sits there and looks at the sunset, and it's just like, very, very breaking your ideas of where a car should be, all this kind of stuff and so on. So very, very good people working together. And it's kind of this was what we're doing, science and the Vedas, art, culture, music. It's for the ultimate goal that of self-realization, right? Albert Camus, famous guy, right? French existentialist, Nobel laureate. He got Nobel Prize in literature, and so much of his work was this one question about death. What's it all worth if you die? The stranger, the myth of Sisyphus, all asking that question. The Vedas say the same thing. The Bhagavad Gita says there are four impulses that God has given us to learn things: birth, death, disease, and old age. These 4 things. First, you're born. It's such a traumatic experience that nobody even wants to remember it. You come out with your head shaped like an almond. It's not a good experience. Lily Tomlin, she's a female comic, Lily Tomlin, very good. She said, men can't understand what it's like giving birth to a baby. She said, it's like having somebody grab your lower lip and try and stretch it up over your eyeball. It's just like, wow. Okay, I didn't understand. Thank your mother. So first off, birth is a horrible experience, There are very few babies come out laughing and smiling. You're totally disoriented. One eyeball is going this way, the other eyeball is going that way, and you can't even figure out how to eat. Your mother has to show you where. Fortunately, that's hardwired in, to drink milk. And then after that, you start growing up, and there's so many problems when growing up. Okay, birth, and then you get diseases, right? So many diseases. How many diseases are there? Any doctors here? Let's start with A. Who knows any disease name begins with A? Arthritis. Arthritis, anthrax, allergy, AIDS. Okay. Now let's go to B. Bubonic plague, botulism. This is a fun game. You get a list of stuff, Okay, you win! You have all the diseases simultaneously. It's just so many, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami said, this body does not get diseases. This body is a disease. This body is a disease. Yeah. Wow. You have a cancer on your arm, you say, look at this, smell it. See my cancer there? No. You want to get rid of it. So this body, we're decorating it, everything else, pick the right glasses, my look, everything else, right? But no, it's a disease. It comes out of the mind. The mind goes from body to body. If you look on the good old YouTube there for reincarnation, wow, so many incredible videos, and a lot of them very scientific and so on. What's the guy's name? Brian Weiss. Yeah, Brian Weiss. How many people know Brian Weiss? One. Okay. What did Brian Weiss do?
Well, he's a psychiatrist who was trained very biologically, very medically. He's in Florida, but he started discovering a lot of his patients had past lives.
Yes.
And he developed a past life regression, kind of more of a standardized way of doing it, and has written many, many books about it.
He was director of the Mount Zion Psychiatric Hospital in Miami. So you got to figure out a Jewish hospital in Miami has got, very powerful, rich place to be director. In the same way too, he's totally materialistic, mechanistic person. And he was doing, I think maybe he was doing some hypnosis. Because I did that when I was in psychology. One of my friends, his wife was terrified of spiders. Okay, watch the finger, watch the finger, watch the finger. Your eyelids are growing very, heavier, heavier. So, yeah, I did it. So then it regressed her, and when she was about maybe like 6 years old, she spent went to 1 week in a summer camp, and then when she woke up, she had a bite on her face like that and stuff, and she would just, what is it? Oh, some spider bit you, you can't get away from them. And she was away from her home, everything else, so it became like a trauma. So she was terrified of spiders, She also covered it, didn't want to face it. Okay, so we hypnosis, brought it back, and then it went away. She faced it, everything else. Okay. So he was doing like this regression to childhood. But one of the girls in his hospital, she had claustrophobia, afraid of closed spaces. So she worked on the 5th floor, and she couldn't take the elevator up. She had to walk up, trudge. Okay. Trudge. Yeah. So he told her, you can find this out. And he said, Alice, come on in. I'll do maybe a little hypnosis, and we can find out what the cause of this is. Well, I haven't got a lot of money. No, I'll do it for free. You work here. Okay, so finally, watch the finger, Alice. So after some time, they went into a trance and stuff. He said, okay, if you can remember the first time you had this experience, then just go right back to that. And she said, the Pharaoh said, huh? She had it again. The Pharaoh said, yeah. Huh? Yeah. So she was recalling an experience something like about 1000 BC, when she was a slave girl for a high religious political authority, and he died. And when they put him in the tomb, they put her and another girl alive and closed the door. So she developed a real bad attitude towards enclosed spaces. Okay, let's go forward here, Alice, with this fantasy or whatever it is. Brian was confused. So she would pop forward maybe a few hundred years and come out again or something in different experiences. And she was just an ordinary person, we call it the inhalation therapy or something. And she was coming up with stuff which just, could not know. And it was more and more of a challenge for Brian's, view of the world. So anyway, she went forward, and finally she came forward to the point after many sessions. And she said, oh, in the trance, I'm in contact with your father. He says he's happy, he passed on. And he said, your son is okay too. He says to tell you his heart's in the right direction now. And that's what just pushed poor old Brian right over the limit, because his son was born with the heart reversed stereotaxically, and they kept the baby alive for maybe 5 minutes and died. And his wife knew that the baby had heart trouble, but she did not know that what it specifically was a stereotaxic reverse of the heart. So there's no way, unless she was a CIA agent or something like that, KGB agent, there's no way on earth. So at that point he was just kind of, I guess, got to swallow it. This appears to be reincarnation. You know? So he set about like investigating it. He had different people, and he was doing it. Yeah, there's many, almost all psychologists who are dealing with people with traumas come up to this point. Many of these things are from previous lives. You know? Some people are born like the whole world is meant to give me candy. You know, babies. You know, other ones are born, you know, terrified of everything. Babies come with, right, a lot of baggage. And as soon as they can begin to grow up, they start to express it. Yeah, so much. I guess even in the womb, the mother's experiencing this. You know, this pregnancy is different than that pregnancy. So he was going forward with this, and he engaged a lot of other like professional psychiatrists and psychologists doing the same thing. And after some time, the Florida Board of Examiners for psychologists, psychiatrists called him in, and he knew why they were calling him. They were going to, sack him. But out of 12 people on the committee, I think 3 were his personal friends. You know, he brought in all the other psychologists with him, and he's not a lightweight guy. So after the whole thing was over, they said, "All right, Brian, go ahead, but be careful." Yeah, like that. So that I think was the point when it became legally or professionally, okay to start studying reincarnation. You see now there are different universities doing it. They're very, very meticulous about it and how they do it and stuff. But it's just, what's the other guy?
Edgar Cayce.
Stevenson.
Yeah, Ian Stevenson. Yeah. Children Who Remember. And he was in charge of psychometrics for the University of Virginia or something. Very strict mathematical professor. So one of his most famous books was Children Who Remember. Yeah, because usually this will happen until about 3 years old. And at about 3 years old, 4 years old, you start to get locked into your culture, your world, and there's no place for these other memories. So cultures that believe in this, they stimulate these early memories, recollections that you're bringing with you. And then you can integrate those with your new perspective, world, body, whatever you got's going on like that. Tibetan cultures, different cultures. So, so there's a lot of very okay, so Brian Weiss, Jan Stevenson. He had children who are remembering past lives, child's born with a birthmark. And he said, this is when I got hit, and this is when I got hit. Owie, this is my owie. Okay, yeah. Okay, and so then you start stimulating, okay, the person was hit in the head, and that's how he died. That's what he says, he remembers that. And they track it down, and they can find previous life, like that. Okay, it appears that this is the person he's describing, this was his previous life. So the medical records, no? The point of the wound was here, so many centimeters from the ear, so many centimeters, so you can get like a mathematical description of where the wound is. Somebody else was born with a birth defect here, okay? And he said, he said he didn't want to do it. What? He shot me. He didn't want to do it. Yeah. So somebody, when they were crawling under some barbed wire fence or going hunting, and the gun went off and shot the guy right in the chest, and he died. Yeah. Okay, so they have again, on the autopsy, they have the location of the chest wound, mathematically. They have the location of the birthmark. Hey, what's it called? A student's t-test. You take 2 bunches of data, okay, and say this is what happened. What are the possibilities of this data happening by chance? That this mark is in the same place by chance, like that. And it came back 1 time in 100. This is like you're playing with the dice there or something, like Russian roulette, like that. Feel lucky. Yeah. Only 1 bullet. There's 99 bullets in there and 1's missing. Okay. Yeah, in science, this is not a proof. This is where the smart money goes. Okay, this is 1 time in 100. This could have happened. That the birthmarks would have been in the same place as the wounds, like that, scientifically. To make a scientific fact, which is impossible, it has to be 1 time in 1,000. You say this data could have occurred 1 time in 1,000 by chance, and it's considered scientifically proven. Of course, it's not proven. Science can't prove anything. Yeah. So that's where Ian Stevenson is. There's many very, very solid things like that. So the whole world is changing. People are more interested. I'm coming back from 22 airports. God, this is a long trip. And everywhere, There's many people more interested in vegetarian life, reincarnation, identification, gender, the whole our integration with the ambience, like that and so on. It's a very nice atmosphere for communication. Make your own life perfect and then help other people. It's a very simple motto, right? Is your life perfect? Is it good? You got something to offer to people? Something. Yeah. That's it. In Indian medicine, Ayurveda, you learn your body, how to take care of it. Once you know that very well, you can take people who have the same kind of body and tell them, you should get up early, you should take this, you do that. Yeah. So, any questions about any of these areas? Reincarnation. Why do we cut our hair this way? What's the mark on your forehead? Yes.
Can you speak to, I don't know, the first question, like the different cultural contexts, and what is a better cultural context for spiritual investment, and if there's actually a better way of being, one being good, something being good or bad for spiritual investment.
You got to start with some, even for science, you got to start with some hypothesis. Otherwise you can't do anything. So we're hypothesizing a supreme being who's a cool guy. And there's also a joker. If you accept that God is a joker, a lot more things make sense, right? If you're accepting evolution caused everything, then zebras become a real problem, right? Why did zebras evolve? Well, because before the world had vertical black and white stripes, and the zebras, you couldn't see them in this one place like that. Okay, Just think, well, if you accept that God's a joker, it's a joke. It's funny, Yeah. So, then considering that, then everything's coming, God is the cause of all causes, and everything's coming from Him. So then this material world is also designed for a spiritual purpose. I think almost every single major religion or Buddhism says this world is not our home. Even in Germany, Wir Heimen Himmel ist, this is not our natural place for us. So accepting that, what's it for? It's a transit lounge. It's a mental hospital. It's a place to become purified. We left heaven. We wanted to become, God ourselves, right? Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven, right? That's many people's idea, right? Make a bumper sticker, you'll sell a lot of them at Christmas time. Buy a few for your friends. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. That's what the devil said in Paradise Lost. So that's the idea. Okay, many people, they want to continue on with that hypothesis. Reigning in hell rather than serving in heaven. But God is showing them that actually it's not. It's really better, please come back, like that, get out of this mess. So then, the material world is created with certain facilities, those people, like a prison. If you go to prison and you say, I'm right, the state is wrong, I'm fighting with everything and everybody, it's a miserable place. It's forcing you. Finally you come to the point and you say, it's a fact. I said, I've done things wrong. It's like, well, what can I do? My parents were functional alcoholics. They were emotionally abusing me my whole life. I had these big emotional problems. And if I get out of here, what am I going to do? I haven't got any way to make money. Within 3 weeks, I'll be robbing people again with some friends, Okay. Oh, there's a psychologist for free in the prison. Oh, there's occupational training in the prison. Hey, now I understand what this place is for. I'm going to learn a job. I'm going to take care of my emotional problems. I'm going to start writing to my family again. When I get out, I'm going to save my family and join them again. But I don't want to go out now. I'm not ready. I know. But this is just where I'm going to stay for a while. I'm going to take advantage of the psychologists and all this kind of stuff like that. So that's the material world. There are certain things you investigate them. Different times of the day are better for different things. What time is the happy hour for the fools?
Evening, 5 to 6 to 7.
5 to 7?
5 to 6.
California is supposed to 6 o'clock.
6 to 10, I believe. Yes.
Well, what do? You're drinking things that make you more stupid, right? There's these pictures that shows this really ugly girl, right? And you turn it over and it says after 5 tequilas. And stupid games, it's just, and television and the broadcast stations, they become more and more stupid. When I was a child, the last thing on was creature features, Godzilla versus King Kong, the Night of the Living Dead. It was like all these 12 o'clock movies like that. Yeah. So this is, mode of ignorance. This is stupidity, which is totally contrary to spiritual life. You can go on with this illusion, everything else, bodily concept, and everything else. And so this is really gross. 6 o'clock till 2 o'clock in the morning. 10 hours. 10 hours? Yeah, 10 hours. 8 hours. 8 hours. At that time, all the bars close down. It's by state. You look in the Wikipedia, you'll find different states have different hours when you can sell alcohol. The Mormons are the most unfriendly. Closed on Sunday. I think California used to be midnight until 7 o'clock. Now I think it's like 2 o'clock in the morning. Last call for alcohol. This is the bar here. Last call for alcohol. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. So we had their mantras. Okay, so that's when all the bit of mantra there for bars.
What did Bhaktivinoda Thakur mean when he said to abandon the pot of jnana because it's like poison?
Okay, I'll get to that then. Okay, so then from 2 o'clock in the morning until 10 o'clock in the morning is good for spirituality. You look on the Wikipedia for Muhurtas, they're there in 48 minutes, 30 in a day. It says auspicious and auspicious. 96 minutes until 48 minutes, before dawn is the most auspicious time for spirituality. You get triple credit, sextuple credit. It's called a Brahma Muhurta. After that is the Samudra Muhurta, which is also auspicious. Most auspicious till 10 o'clock in the morning. You see at 10 o'clock in the morning tradition, the banks open, the businesses open, and the mode of action comes, profit, results, these kind of things. So if you get up early and figure out who I am, what's going on, when you start going out to make money, now you know why you're making it. Some good ideas, some good purpose like that and stuff. So yeah, you can do things, you can get results, you can build dams and stuff. So 2 o'clock till 10 o'clock is for contemplation, meditation, introspection, reading literature, writing. And then from 10 o'clock until 6 o'clock is making money, doing business, getting results, planning things. And then from 6 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning is just to go out with your family to the mall and buy toys for your kids, your altars and things, Watch YouTube on reincarnation or something. Yeah. So different times are there, different plants are there, Krishna incarnates. So Sattva Gun, the mode of goodness, different cultures, it's more cultivated. Like again, certain places, in the deserts, not much more of goodness. In Antarctica, there's not much Sattva Gun. So you find that religions that come out of the desert are dealing with very violent problems. The Prophet Muhammad, may his name be blessed, had to deal with these people that are really tough area. One devotee, Jayadas, his father was a colonel in the Turkish army. He has a Turkish passport. He said every single time he goes through customs, he look at his passport and say, "Come with us." He said every time. He's so famous for drug smuggling. He said, "Who can smoke more cigarettes than a Turk?" 2 Turks. He says, so people are just so like tamasic, The soldiers get $1 a year or something, When it was come time for inspection, the sergeants are beating on them to get them in line. They don't object. But he said, on the other hand, if they decide to take shelter of him, forget it. It's like a dog that decides this is my master. You're gonna beat him to death before he'll stop, protecting him. So they're different environments. So the mode of goodness is prominent in different places, different times of the day. Yes. So yeah. Bhakti, what do you mean when the jnana is like a pot of poison? Yeah. So karma is doing things. Religion is ritual. Okay. Jnana means what we're doing right now. It means intellectual, logical understanding, grammar, arithmetic, that kind of stuff, right? Okay. And then dhyana is actually contemplation, meditation, that Carl Jung was doing. And then finally is bhakti, which is what is your motivation? Why are you meditating? Why are you understanding? Why are you doing this? Yeah? Yeah. And that's the ultimate thing. Ultimate love is superior to knowledge. Yeah? Knowledge is based upon what you love. Yeah? Yeah. So the jnana, for somebody who's in the mode of ignorance, coming up to an intellectual level is actually, it's a fact. You see the same thing. Don't try and shake them and say this is useless because they may fall back down again. Forget it, it's not worth it. Yeah. So, but for him, it is. It's just trying to intellectually analyze everything else. I try to avoid that in the lectures too much. I tell some stories. Yeah. Okay. So what level are you on? Is it poison for you, or is it? We're all mixed. It's good to have a good logical basis what you're doing. Yeah.
I just wanted to share a story.
Oh my goodness.
When I was in the hospital having my youngest son, my son who's 4 years old told me, he said, "Mom, I'm so happy I chose you. I remember when I picked you, I said, I want that mom with the curly hair." And there was another little boy that wanted you too. So we played paper, rock, scissors, and I won. But I told him, it's okay, you can be my brother. And now Austin's here. He was 4 when he said that.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things. This is our culture and everything else tries to just block this out. She can't think about it. But she actually started investigating so many things in life. I was on Southwest Airlines flying from, I don't know, Nashville to San Francisco. The pilot said, "Look out the window, you can see Yellowstone Park." And I heard this two people behind me talking, just a man and a woman sitting together. And the lady said, "Oh yeah, I was there many years ago with my family. And we were camping, and we came out and we stopped at a little country store, and I made a phone call. And he drove off, and I realized maybe like 3 hours later, I left my whole wallet with my identification on top of the telephone. And as soon as we got home, one man called me and said he got it. It was such a nice experience. And the man said, "What's your name?" "Mary Smith." I said, "I'm the guy who found your wallet." He gave up evidence and stuff like that. It wasn't just like pulling him over. It was like, well, it happened by chance. Yeah. But by chance, we're all here tonight. Question? Yes, sir. What is your good name?
My name is Nate.
No.
Nate, or Nathan.
Nate or Nathan?
Yeah.
Okay, what is your bad name?
Okay,
What does your mother call you when she was angry with you?
probably Nate or Nathan.
That's the whole thing. My mother would say my whole name out in long format. I knew that I was in trouble then. Yeah.
That's always a good way.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I've had a question that I've kind of been tossing around in myself for a while because I've seen, because of what I've seen based on meeting people and in my spiritual experiences, but do we ever, like, at any level of consciousness, transcend culture? Like cultural biases and stuff.
Wow. This is a real interesting word. Yeah. For example, Nazis were totally opposed to culture. They thought it was a dirty Jewish trick. There's one movie of how does it go? Of like all the little Nazi kids and knives, and they say, "This can silence the biggest intellectual." You don't need culture. Might makes right. Very much part of the whole Nazi German culture was this thing of domination. Cultural evolution. What it was? Cultural Darwinism, social Darwinism. Is everything. The might makes right. And so on. So it comes back to the word cult and the word culture. Same thing. So I would say you can't transcend it, but as a bacteria, you can probably eliminate a lot of it if you become a bacteria. Now, why would we become bacteria? Okay, if you want to taste, something nice, you can't put it in your ears, you can't put it in your nose, you can't rub it on your hands. You got to put it one very small place. But if you're a bacteria, you can enjoy sex with your entire body. You can enjoy food with your entire body. Would you like to become a bacteria? Yeah, your whole body divides. Yeah, it is. You can see it's like, but it's the soul goes through these things and can become absorbed at this level. And come back out, plants, animals, vegetables, human being, gods in the heavens, down again. Welcome to samsara. So they say that the culture, the way we're talking about it, is a part of the spiritual world. For example, Rome is an eternal idea in the mind of the gods. That was the Roman thing, yeah? Rome is an eternal idea in the mind of the gods. Anybody know Shelley's poem Osmandius? Shelley's poem Osmandius? He said he was walking across the desert in northern Africa, and he saw this like pedestal. It had the big figure had fallen down, the head was in the sand, the figure had fallen over. And he read it, and it said, "My name is Osmandius, King of Kings. Look upon all my works around you and tremble." That was nothing but sand and a few, broken ruins there and stuff. There was this poem about the impermanence of empire and emperors. So how long will Houston last before it disappears into history? So but what about masculinity and femininity? Is that eternal?
There are.
Is it?
That's what we're saying, yeah. It goes to the gods, it goes to different species of life, it goes on like that. So it's not just, just different biological bodies and stuff. No, there's a difference, When you get a female body, you get a different resource, everything. Yeah.
Do you maintain this energy? For example, some say maybe in a past life I was born as a young man and now in this life I'm born as a young woman. But I just feel sometimes that I have a lot of, even though I might embody both masculine and feminine energy, I've always been predominantly a female, or rather, that's been the energy that I'm not sure.
No, I know. So this is why we have our Western view of what is reality, atoms and molecules. But India, everything else is much more top down, like Socrates, and it's describing this is what Carl Jung was experiencing. There's the archetypal level of these subtle thoughts and everything else, and masculinity and femininity, the priest, the virgin, the traveler, the clown, it's like tarot cards. Yeah, they're there, and that influences. You've got commercial buildings, residential buildings. They all come out of the blueprints. Certain things manifest in gross forms at our level, and so on. Yeah? And so culture is we're saying is a higher reality. That's what we all like it. It's the masculine and feminine personalities and friends and associates. The ultimate reality, our perspective, is a little village in the forest, where Krishna lives with his friends. And they go out every day and take care of their cows and play and have all these little, teenage love affairs going on, 14 years old, 13 years old, and all these things, and who's wearing whose, varsity football sweater, and things like that. None of it's important, but for them, it's this is life and death. Who's wearing Krishna's varsity football sweater? So, but and then there's a road coming into the forest, and it goes out, and every now and again, somebody comes down the road from heaven, or like that, and goes out again. But they just forgot. We just our little village world and everything else, But it's full of the most intense, beautiful, detailed social, cultural programs. So we can transcend the reflection, right? E.T. Hall, beautiful books. What's it called? The Hidden Dimension. It's E.T. Hall, Extraterrestrial Hall. It's not his name, but it's Edward Thomas Hall. Incredible books on cross-cultural views of time and space perception and other things. He grew up amongst the Hopi Indians, so very early childhood. He was advisor to the U.S. government, State Department, and everything else. So really interesting. I pointed this out before. We have a certain industrialized North American space. We don't touch people, Again, you ask all the Indian people here, came as engineers. After the first 2 weeks, somebody will pull you aside and say, Rajiv, I know it's a cultural thing, but you're just standing too close to people. And it's really bothering people, especially the ladies. Because India's personal space is smaller than American personal space. Yeah. I think it's bigger, yeah. And of course, the biggest is the British. Yeah. Do you know how to keep an Italian from talking? tie up his hands. So these are all unconscious, we don't think about them, but they're there as part of our culture. And conscious things we know, how you do things like that. I think in India, if you show your shoulders in India, it's a scandal. But you can show your belly button. Other place, yeah, it's just, it's just, you understand, ladies understand, like, what is the standard? Yes. So yeah, we can transcend the perverted reflection of culture, and that's good. Because that's what we do, that's what's keeping us here. And then we come to the real culture, and that what gives us life. Yeah.
Would you say that's also like the identification with culture? So for example, as I've traveled, my mom is also from Guatemala and my dad, like I have come from a mixed background. I believe that there's kind of like there's like a humanities culture, like there's just, like for example, I think we can all relate to being in a group of people, maybe in school or in a village or in a large city, but we can relate to being these certain roles in society or in culture, and then when we've quote unquote transcended that, I guess what it is we no longer identify with that role that we might fit into. That's not to say that we should give up the role, but rather just become aware of it instead of like thinking.
Control it rather than being controlled by it.
That's a hard one for me to understand.
Yeah, so like, as a woman I become angry and do all these kind of things, but no, hey, I can control that. And I won't go murdering my co-wife's son, so my son can become king. Lady Macbeth. You read this? That's heavy. Yeah. There was one stage actress, very good actress. She retired just before movies started becoming prominent. They only have one clip of her. It was, and she used to do the Shakespeare. Macbeth. You know the story of Macbeth. What's the story?
Ghastly.
Okay, one king. Again, it's very archetypal. The story. There was one. What do you call it? One woman, and her husband was like under the king. But she had this ambition, this feminine ambition to become, prominent and everything else. So she started like poisoning her husband's mind. He's out to get you, this and that, and so forth. So when the king, his friend, before stayed in their palace at night, they went and murdered him. And when they woke up in the morning, the king was murdered. They were saying, "Oh, this is terrible under my house," pretending everything. So it went on like this. And a lot of things happened. It's typical Shakespeare details. So finally, she just started having like nightmares, and her serving girls were watching her, and in her dream, there's a spot of blood, from the murder on it, and the spot won't come out. She just can't wash it out, her guilt. And so then finally in the dream, she says, "Out, out, damn spot." Like that, So when this actress would play Lady Macbeth in the early days, when she would come to that, the anguish she was projecting was so intense that people would pass out in the audience. It was like this, so the director would say, "Yes, lighten up a little bit." They're getting the message. But she was good. So especially drama. Our yoga is drama. Another yoga you can sit and do asanas. Okay. Another one is medicine, Ayurveda, political science. We're doing Gandharva Veda, which is singing, dancing, and drama. And the whole rules and stuff about how you can do this to realize who you are, acting different roles, very powerful. Yes. So yeah, then you just, you understand this is my nature. I got this kind of body, I was born in this kind of culture and stuff, okay. But I'm not going to be controlled by it. I'm going to put it properly and use it like that and stuff.
For the service of something greater than one's own power.
Yeah. I need some help. Alcoholics Anonymous also agrees with that. Yeah, you're not going to get off of alcohol and stay off without higher power. Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't believe that before. He said, "Whatever you want to do, you can do." Now as he's getting older, I think he's actually adjusting. He's not becoming an alcoholic and just trying to deny it. You see, he's actually like, kind of starting to like accept it and stuff.
Helps with the age.
Yeah. Some people it doesn't. They just reject it totally. They get some kind of tobacco and television, bitter. But other people really start to like accept it. Yeah.
Would you say that there's something happening on a very grand scale where a lot of people are becoming more conscious at the moment?
My experience, okay, I've been from Nashville, Music City, to London, to Madrid, to Delhi, to Peru, to Buenos Aires, what do you call it? Santiago. 1 million people in the street protesting the government. Okay. All the way through all this stuff, what I'm seeing is polarization. It's like a lot of people are becoming more conscious of higher things in the good life, and other people are just kind of like going for negative stuff, and it's almost like almost nobody, it makes my experience, nobody in between, stuff like that. So I don't know, I mean, if we, who knows, maybe like a gigantic world, something or other happening soon, So the thing is, are we ready for it? If our president, the president of Korea, exchanged four nuclear weapons and decided to give up, that's very short nuclear war, but it can change everything. All telecommunications, is probably be gone for a long time. What happens if there's no telecommunications for our modern civilization?
We must go back to ancient.
Yeah. So what do we do? What can we depend on? What can we do? This world is to teach us to find that which doesn't change. We can always depend on. In any situation, you can choose to become a contributor, a positive contributor, or you can choose to become a victim. I'm a victim. No. You're not a victim until you choose to become a victim. Yeah, okay, that attitude. You discover, wow, I have resources that go beyond my body, my mind. I have, So specifically, we are Bengali. We're coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We have our literature like that and stuff. But it's like very, the more you go into it, a real teacher, the more you go into him, the more you come in contact with other cultures. It's a real test of a real teacher is that the more I go into Krishna consciousness, the more I just become motivated to understand Christianity and reading it. It's such a nice tradition and stuff, And you become a good Christian, then you want to understand. I know people, big people. Francis Clooney, director of the Harvard School of Divinity, is the more he becomes a Christian, the more he actually begins to appreciate Islam, Indian culture, and everything else. That's a real symptom. You don't become isolated, you become more, more enthusiastic about other cultures. So, there it is. Okay, yes, sir. What is your good name? We got Nate.
My name's Arle.
Huh?
My name's Arle.
Arles?
Arle.
Arles.
Arle.
Arle.
A-R-L-E-Y.
A-R-L-E-Y. Arle. Wow, kind of like Arlo Guthrie. You gotta look like him. Yeah. Alice's Restaurant.
I'm not that.
You can get it. Alice's Restaurant.
I'm interested in your thoughts and experience with sleep, and if you prefer mono or poly sleep, like sleeping 8 hours, or as what's his name? Sir Isaac Newton was sleeping like 2 hours at a time.
Wow.
And
There's some people who never sleep.
and I sleep.
Few people. It is. It's interesting because thousands of years ago in the psychology, it's just talking about, wakefulness, dreaming state, and deep sleep. And in psychology, they discovered, it's exactly what's happening. Sushupti, like that. And so, okay, if you go into the dreaming state, if you keep waking people up when they're going into the dreaming state, don't let them go into deep sleep. After a while, they start becoming psychotic. Their health starts to fall apart, drive them nuts. You want to kill your cat, you can do that. You see, cats are dreaming, They're dreaming, right? Dogs are dreaming, So this is very natural, this hypnagogic state, dreaming state. And it's useful for many things. That's what kind of Carl Jung was using for his thing to get into his subconscious motivations, these deeper intelligence things he was carrying his patients. So when you go into deep sleep, the prana body, the tactile body, dissolves. Okay, and then the soul, the atma, more subtle, rises above the body, oriented towards the southeast. Okay. So you shouldn't sleep with your head, gross body, to the north or west, because if you do, when you go back in, you'll feel like your brains are in your feet. Another word we use sometimes. But you wake up You know, and it's got to shake and everything else until finally your subtle body, your intelligence reconnects properly. So a lot of discussion. If you're really in the mode of goodness, you know, eating and everything else, just your connection with the world is just what it takes to keep my body alive and just to communicate like that and stuff. Then 2 hours a day is two full hours a day is enough. When you sleep physiologically, the immune system, okay, the veins expand, the immune system goes faster. It's like at nighttime, all the cleaning people, they change the lights, street lights, and there's, a few people. Same way, your body, if you're doing work, it's tearing tissues. And so, yeah, you need, like, if you're doing physical work and stuff, you probably need more than 2 hours, for your body to go and repair everything, And a lot of things. The first physical contraction you do releases vasopressin, which causes all the veins to contract. So if you're waking up and want to get up, just start squeezing a little bit, and wait, you'll see that very quickly that enzyme causes it to contract. Otherwise, all your blood is, like that. And so it's a big deal. So ultimately, our recommendation is 2 hours a day with naps, short naps, and being able to go right into deep sleep. There are books on this, power napping, where you just go right into it, and in a few minutes and you're refreshed. But that's like, so we're saying that usually the same as the U.S. Army, 6 hours is a good standard. And different people, if you're a married person, you got to go out all day. Okay, you do 6 hours at night, and myself, because I'm a sannyasi, usually I'll do 4 hours at night, and after the morning, get up early, and after breakfast, everything else, I just take a 2-hour nap and stuff. So it depends on your body, your cycle. Yeah. Some people don't sleep.
I have a question.
Okay. Yes. What is your name?
Thomas.
Tom.
Tom, or Thomas, either.
Thomas.
It's
like a locomotive, right?
yes. Thomas.
Yeah.
So this is one that you suggested earlier, and I found myself sitting here wondering why do you cut your hair like that?
Yeah. One time somebody asked problems, I said, because it was clean. Yeah. Okay.
So you have a patch on the back.
The Buddhists eliminated everything. They say nothing is real. We say that, most of it's junk, but there are some things that are real. Even the Bible, you see different haircuts, the fetlocks and stuff. It's very traditional. Even now, you go around looking at people's hairstyles, right? You can look at, identify with a certain group and everything else. It's very communicative in terms of what's social status and everything else. That's part of it. It's just we're monks. Generally speaking, there's a lot of stimulation from the hair and scalp, like that and so on. So if you have hair, there's a lot of stimulation for material activity. Generally speaking, our perspective is that ladies have finer bodies, so we don't recommend they cut it off because they need the stimulation. Like that, it's very natural, their hair and stuff, so different people. But as a monk, you want to minimize the material stimulation so you can be introspective and do all these kind of things, at least for a few years. Okay? Later on, when you get married, okay, then you can go again. And also because it's the same thing socially, I mean, what is it? There's beauty parlors for ladies' hair, right? Yeah, because it's a big deal, and so on. How you're expressing yourself and so on. So, monk, we're not concerned with the external, we're concerned with internal things. That's the idea, monastic life. It's kind of.
So I'm sorry, what was the last thing?
No, because in monastic life in culture is supposed to become concerned with cultivation of the human spirit, internal life. So you minimize the extra. I have 2 sets like this, and one pair of shorts and a t-shirt. It's like everything I have fits in one. Actually, it fits in under the seat bag. Not even the carry bag. Before I had overhead bag. Then you got to fight for bin space sometimes. Okay, so now it all fits under the seat. Yeah, this is can travel.
So the part right here that doesn't really represent anything.
Well, it does actually. This is the Brahmarandra. Yeah. You see, when babies are born, it's loose and it connects like that. So if you're actually doing prana yoga, Astanga yoga, you close the lower chakras and you start to draw the prana energy up like that. It's heavy. I know one person didn't have proper guidance. He blew out his right ear and was deaf. in his right ear, no physical evidence. See, raising it up, and then, there was some blood and everything else, and you come right out of there and you go to stay with the gods, material gods. Okay?
So it's there to keep that from happening? So
No, that actually. Our tradition is an Indian tradition. It's deep. And what we know about it, what Prabhupada was able to give us and stuff, was actually just a portion of it. With the deity worship, you say, if you knew all the rules and regulations, you would just pass out. Because they have effect. But if we don't take care of it, then Krishna will take care of it for us. Just do the simple thing, and I'll adjust it like that, basically. But yeah, it may even have influence in terms of the prana. What people say is for God to grab you by the hair and pull you out. But details, yeah. So we kind of stop here and we chat a little more. And anybody wants to ask any more questions about what is the marketing for? That's not. So, Hari Haraye Nama Krishna Yodavaya Namaha. Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Gopal Govindaram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan. Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. And now we're going to see, we bought a cupcake for the birthday party yesterday. Where's the cupcake? Oh, it's a big cupcake. Okay, Mahaprasada ki jai. Everything was cooked with love for Krishna. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you so much. Also, this is a really good book. Upadeshamrita is a summary